I solemnly swear that I am up to no good.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 46 of Tales from Godric's Hollow, the internet's favorite Harry Potter book club podcast for your ear holes. I am one of your hosts. I am the muggle of the show. I am Josh Brown. I am joined, as always, straight from the forest, Professor Madman Matt Sonnenberg. Hi, Matt.
Hi, Josh.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Doing well.
Well, and quite busy, I hear.
It's true. This weekend has been quite busy between trying to sell a house and buy some land and everything that goes along with it. And I just don't know where I'm at right now. I'm actually surprised it's Monday.
Yeah.
I kind of lost track of time because my entire weekend just flew by.
Sure.
Cleaning the house and moving furniture and taking pictures and yeah.
Usually by like Monday afternoon, if you haven't heard from me, you'll text to make sure like the show's still on and like I'm still wanting to do this. And you're just like, hey, I haven't heard from you, so I just hope everything's okay. But today I texted you just to kind of give you like the plan of how and when we're going to be recording tonight. And I knew like right off the bat that you were disoriented and not your normal self. I'm like, oh, okay, it's going to be one of those nights. Gotcha. This is great. This is me reminding Matt that it's Monday and it's time to record.
Like I knew it was coming because yesterday I'm like, oh, we're recording tomorrow. I should probably read. And so like I knew I had just gotten the reading done, so it had to be coming up soon. But then even today, like it did not go as planned, and it was just more paperwork and more signings and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, I'm a little out of it, but we should be able to pull this out.
Sure. Fortunately for you, like you're in a position to where I feel like if you ever wanted to take a week off from reading, or it just isn't in the cards for you to actually get the reading done, you could probably fake it well enough to get by, and I would not be the wiser.
Read through your notes and say, yes, I read. This is what we're talking about this week.
You could you can at least pass it by me. I don't know if the listening audience would let you get by with something like that, but I would never know the difference.
Yeah, I mean, I do really enjoy reading it because even though I've read it many, many times before, I'm reading it with new eyes right now because partly because of things that you've become attached to,
right?
But I'm also looking for all those minute details of things that are being hinted at, or things that you might connect because of something you said 3 weeks ago, or how is Josh going to figure this out?
Right.
Like I'm trying to put all these things together now, and so I'm looking at the writing in a different way.
You're reading it 2 chapters at a time. You've never done that before.
Also very true.
Yeah. It's a whole new world for you, Matt.
Yeah.
Sometimes I will be honest with you. I worry that you're going to throw in new characters when there isn't new characters, or you're going to make up the names and I'm just going to go along with it like I remember them, because let's be real. I tune out a lot of the new insignificant characters because they don't mean anything, and I recognize immediately they're not going to mean anything.
Sure.
So out of sight, out of mind. But I'm always in the back of my head thinking, he could easily slip one in here, and I would just go along with it, and then people would question whether or not I actually read it, or, you know, it would start a whole conspiracy theory, I think. Alex would be all over it.
Yeah. Well, you just wait till we get to Nargles and Raxperts.
See, you're just making up stuff at this point. Like, that's just made up words, Matt. I feel like there was some sort of Harry Potter news this week. I might be making that up, but I feel like there was something I wanted to talk about regarding Harry Potter in some way.
Well, you did hint at something on Instagram, I know. I don't think that's the news you were talking about, probably, but
Oh, yeah. That's definitely not the news. We'll save that for the end of the show.
Okay.
Yeah.
But there was something this week. And
I try to keep up with the stuff without
exactly.
being...
You're always so good about keeping up with it that I usually don't bother to like make a note of it or remember. It's
Sure.
like, and Josh will bring it up.
Yeah. Well, this week's different, Matt, because there's a lot of things in this book, in this chapter, these 2 chapters, that I'm excited to talk about. So I think that's kind of overwhelming my senses as far as like just needing to talk about something. But
Sure.
man, I swear there was something that I really wanted to talk about. But I don't know.
Okay. Well, if it comes back to you mid-show, feel free to bring it up.
Yeah, I've been trying to think about it all day, so I feel like at this point it's a lost cause.
You never know.
No. And I don't even know where I would have seen it, and I'm like going back and trying to like look into things like that is a slippery slope.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
No. All I know is I still don't have butterbeer ice cream, and I mean that's a travesty in its own right, but nonetheless.
Did you see someone who actually contacted them about was it Brent?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, did you read the disclaimer that they put at the end of their emails?
Maybe, but I forget now.
Oh man, I don't know if I can find that again. But it basically said that their butterbeer recipe is based on some like old English blah 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 and has nothing to do with the Harry Potter or Wizarding World franchise and nothing to do with Warner Brothers. I'm like,
just trying not to get sued.
Basically, and like the fact that you have like you could tell it wasn't just like part of that email because he was asking about it.
Sure.
It was like, down below the signature, like it's tacked on to every email that they send out.
Please don't sue us. Please don't sue us.
And I mean, come on. If that is, that was going to be an issue.
Yeah.
So if you're not trying to be affiliated with them, pick a different name.
Right. I mean, it's worth a risk, right? I mean, look all the publicity they got, so.
Except people can't get their hands on the product. That's the problem.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely an issue.
Yeah.
This isn't what I wanted to talk about, but I saw the Lego Batman movie again.
Did you?
Yeah, this weekend.
Okay.
Took the kids. And I forgot how important Voldy was in that movie.
Sure.
Which is fantastic. There was one spell that he kept using over and over again, and for the life of me, I could not understand what that British voice was saying, and it irritated me because I'm like, it's probably not something I'm supposed to know about, but it's just the name of a spell that he's using, and I don't even know what specifically it does, but I'm curious what he's throwing out there, but I couldn't understand it at all. Well, I know he used Wingardium Leviosa? Yes.
Okay.
I know he used that once or twice, but there was something else that he kept... Float. Yeah.
Did he keep using Avada Kedavra?
Maybe. I don't know. Now that I'm... Maybe? No, that didn't sound like that.
Because that's essentially his spell. Okay. I mean, it's the killing curse. It's one of the unforgivable curses that we learned about.
Well, maybe that was it. Maybe there's just the way that he was saying it. I don't know. It was said very quickly. It was coming from a very thick British accent. I was all sorts of confused, but yeah, Voldemort. He's a major player in that movie. You haven't seen that movie, right?
That would be correct. I have not seen that one yet. Yeah, because you know how often I see movies in theaters. Right. I've told you about that.
Yeah.
Like Star Wars and Fantastic Beasts are the last 2 movies I've seen in theaters.
Sure. Fair enough.
And honestly, before that, not much at all.
Yeah. No worries, but Voldy is a pretty main bad guy in the film. He's like,
that's what I've heard. I really should see it.
It'll be on Blu-ray soon.
Oh yeah.
So worth checking out for all those Harry Potter fans that may not have any care in the world about Batman or Lego, it is cool seeing old Voldy up there with Sauron and the Daleks from Doctor Who and Gremlins and a whole bunch of other bad guys from different franchises. So,
I mean, I'll just throw it out there that Lego movies, period, are worth seeing.
oh yeah,
Even if you don't have anything invested in them.
sure. But I mean, since this is a Harry Potter podcast, there is some sort of investment to be made for all you Voldy supporters out there, which I know there's a few of you Slytherin folks. Yeah, whatever else I had to talk about, Matt, is out the window. But one thing that I do know that we need to do is we need to do a giveaway.
We should do that.
We need to give away another prize. We are giving away the second of 4 dragons.
Yeah, selecting our second champion.
The winners of these 4 dragons will then be put into a competition, a tournament to the death, to win the grand prize that Matt still hasn't told me about. So you know how exciting that's going to be. Yeah, we've already given one away. The first winner won the Chinese Fireball dragon.
Yes.
They selected that. So the second one that we're going to be giving away, the winner will have the choice of the other 3. Please
Correct.
do not ask me to remember what those 3 are.
Come on, they're such good names.
Matt, I have so many fantastic
You just need
names in my
a
head.
location and a description, and most of the time they're alliterative.
Norwegian Ridgeback.
That would be Norbert.
That's the only one I remember, Matt.
So the Chinese Fireball, like I said, is taken already.
Yeah, that's the only one I remembered because I knew I had to say that one was already taken.
Yes, the Hungarian Horntail, the Swedish Short Snout, and the Welsh Green.
Yeah, nope.
Not quite as exciting,
No.
but like I said, a location where it comes from, followed by a descriptive word.
I wish, Matt, I could retain all this. There's so many things for me to remember all at once on a weekly basis. It's overwhelming.
Well, let me just say this. I think where I learned them the most was watching the 4th movie. Like they're mentioned enough in there that,
and you could see them, so you have some sort of other association.
For whatever reason, like when I hear them in my head, it's when they're selecting the dragons,
right?
And the guy announcing it there, that's the voice I always hear him in.
Sure, fair enough. Regardless, so the winner tonight is going to have a choice of those remaining 3. Last week, the challenge was simple. It was to write in with an email to talesfromgodricshollow@gmail.com and either show off a Harry Potter tattoo that you already have or describe a Harry Potter that you may want, are thinking about getting, or would be a cool idea even if you have no interest in tattoos whatsoever. According to Matt, there was a lot of entries. Apparently you guys like this kind of thing.
I'm not sure exactly what got everybody hooked, because, I mean, like you said, a lot of people don't have any interest in tattoos, and we got a lot of those people entering too. It's like, I would never get a tattoo, but this would be a cool idea.
Right.
Like, okay, yeah, it would be a cool idea, but so whatever it is, yeah, you guys came out in droves this week.
Fantastic. I also kind of opened it up, which I appreciate. I appreciate the fact that you guys are so careful about spoilers with me. But I did open up the competition to spoilery things, knowing that I would never see any of the spoilers because Matt has the only access to the emails. So whatever you guys wanted to write or show off, I would never see. And I think taking that restriction off you guys allowed you to feel more comfortable entering this kind of giveaway. So
that definitely could have something to do with it, because I will say a number of them, like as we get into these longer books, we get a lot of good quotes, and a lot of people gravitated towards some of those.
Sure.
So, I mean, there are some symbols and pictures and stuff they want to do, but a lot of people somehow incorporate at least one quote. But yeah, of
Did
course,
anybody describe or show off a tattoo that has Mad Eye's eyeball in the middle with constant vigilance written around it?
I don't think so.
Oh, dang it.
Not that I remember offhand.
Well, it might mean I have a very unique tattoo on my hands.
You have a tattoo on your hands?
Yeah, his eyeball, Matt. I told you this.
Okay.
Mad Eye's eyeball. So how many do we have to pick from here, Matt?
This week we have a whopping, I was about to say 42, 22.
22.
22 entries.
22 entries. It's a lot to choose from. There's a lot of pressure behind this, Matt.
Sure.
A lot of pressure.
You're selecting a champion.
I'm selecting a champion. You know what? I'm not even going to leave this up to my own. Here, let's do a random number generator. I feel like that's necessary with this sort of thing. I was going to pick number 6. But
that's not your number?
No.
Okay.
I was going to pick number 6 because that's how many Butterbeer's Winky threw back before she passed out drunk. Let's see here. 22. Generate a number. Lucky number 16.
All right. 12, 13, 14, 15. It's probably would have been smarter to count from the other direction. But,
yeah, probably.
Too late for that. Let me double check something here. We're getting into this area where we just have so many winners now.
Sure.
I have to keep checking my list of who won. But looks like we're good. So our winner this week is Rhonda.
Rhonda, congratulations. Our second champion.
Yes. Rhonda says, let's see if I can read this actually. Yeah, this one's safe.
Clearly, Matt's had plenty of time in between selling a house and buying property to screen all these emails efficiently.
Well, I mean, I've read them all. It's just I have to double check which ones I can read now. So, Rhonda says, if I got a Harry Potter tattoo, I would choose a time turner and put it on my inner left wrist. Since I already have a compass on my right, I think they would balance out nicely.
That's a cool idea.
They're both gadgets that help you get to your destination.
I like that.
Yeah, that would work out very nicely, I think.
Yeah, that's very cool. Well, fantastic. Thank you. Thank you to Rhonda for being our second champion. Thank you to everybody that responded. Like, that's fantastic. I wish I could read them all and see them all. Apparently, a few of you actually attached pictures of Harry Potter tattoos that you currently have. And with permission, I think Matt's going to put them up on social media so we could check them out collectively as a community.
Yeah. Well, I'll see what I can do about those. I mean, some of those even though we'll have to see if we can share or not. But yeah,
spoilers.
Yeah, we'll definitely share what we can.
What's up with you guys getting spoiler tattoos? Like, how inconsiderate are you people out there to just walk around with these giant spoilers on your body for little muggles like me who trying our very best to get through this series as quick as we can, as quick as we're allowed to. Inconsiderate.
All right. So, on to this week.
Yes.
You have anything else you need to talk about before we jump into this?
No, just want to remind everybody at the end of the show, we will announce the next giveaway for next week.
Very true.
So stay tuned for that as always. But that's it.
All right. So this brings us to chapter 28, The Madness of Mr. Crouch.
Boy, this is a loaded headline, Matt.
Yeah.
Yeah. I went into this chapter thinking, oh boy, things are going to start happening, right? Like, we're going to start getting some answers. All these, like, mysteries are going to start being solved one at a time. I was excited. I was jazzed. I was just anxious to figure out what the madness of Mr. Crouch was going to reveal. Didn't reveal much, Matt.
Not entirely. We just kind of learned about his madness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
The fact that it exists. Which,
Pretty
let's be
much.
real, probably we all could have guessed. So,
Not
he
necessarily.
works with Ludo
I
Bagman.
mean,
Come on now.
well, he was a very kind of prim and proper, by the rules kind of guy, though.
Yeah, but he also executed his son, essentially.
Well, sentenced him, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, by sorts. Also, he works with Ludo Bagman. Also, he has Percy as an assistant. Like, that's enough to drive anybody
To drive you
absolutely
mad.
crazy. Yeah.
Yes. I'll give you that.
Okay. Chapter 28. Boy, oh boy. Some things happened in this chapter.
They did.
Things happened, Matt. First we started off with the house elves. I liked the way this chapter started off.
Of course. Anything with house elves.
Anything. Especially little drunk house elves. Because this is like the first indication, like we've talked about it a few times, like you've alluded to this, that like there's never been like clear distinction as to like the alcoholic content of butterbeer.
Yeah. I think the closest we've gotten is like they say like it warms you up or something.
Yeah.
And the fact that in my mind that it's served in a bottle.
Right.
Like you don't get a bottle of soda and say, "Oh yeah, that warmed me right up."
Right.
Like, you don't. No, it doesn't work like that.
But on the other hand, they're also serving it to kids.
Yes, it's a little odd that way, but then again, it is England, where there's probably a little bit of truth to it because it's one of those things. But I've always heard the joke, it's like, well, what's the drinking age over there? And it's like, 11.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, they do start drinking. Like, having a glass of wine with your dinner, like, starts at an early age. Like,
sure.
So that's not unreasonable. And they're also wizards, so, I don't know how wizards are able to hold alcohol better than muggles, but there's a lot of factors. But still, it's never just been outright said, like, hey, butterbeer will get you drunk.
Yeah.
Enter Winky the house elf, who's quite the lush, I will say. Drinking butterbeer while depressed is probably not a good idea. I mean...
No. Well, I mean, it tastes great. But...
Yeah. In the realm of, like, good ideas and butterbeer is concerned, like, it's probably a bad idea, but it's still butterbeer, so it's not really that bad.
You would think.
You would hope so. Winky can't handle her booze, though.
Well, apparently, just house elves in general can't.
That's true. But
I mean, they were alluding to at least that would happen to any house elf.
Yeah. That
drank more than one, probably.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is where they finally kind of come down and say that it's not really that strong for humans or wizards per se, but when it comes down to house elves, whether like, not really sure if it's just because house elves are that much smaller,
right?
Or is it just their race?
Yeah, their chemistry.
Yeah,
their body makeup. Hard to say.
Which makes it all that more odd now that I think about it in Fantastic Beasts that the bartender is a house elf.
Yeah, well, I mean, bartenders don't have to drink.
Not necessarily, but it just seems odd.
Well, I mean, he was a tough little bartender, though. I mean, serves. I mean, giggle water, is that alcoholic? Like, I don't know what these drinks alcoholic consumption actually are. Like,
it's true. It's true. We have no point of reference really.
We need a bartender's guide to the wizarding world of alcoholic beverages.
There's your next book.
Somebody write this. I'm just spewing ideas to you guys on a weekly basis, and I've yet to see any solid fanfic come from this podcast. I have to do all the work around here, Matt. Winky's depressed. Winky's sad. Winky is emotional. Winky is just... She's a wreck. Poor Winky. She's also quite drunk. When the trio go to the kitchen to fetch some food for Sirius Black. Snuffles.
There you go.
Whew. Whew. Almost ruined the secret there for a second. Yeah, I loved the scene. I loved Dobby. Okay, I will say Dobby didn't seem as excited for the socks as I wanted him to be.
Sure.
Like, he was appreciative, and he was like, "Oh, Harry Potter, you're the best," blah, 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 blah. But, like, I wanted him to just explode in happiness, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't know if it was because he was working and he was trying to rein it in and be cool in front of his friends, or
well, I think I would go with it's partly because he's working, but I also think it's just the way this scene was written. Like, Dobby wasn't supposed to be the main focus.
Right. But I wanted him to be, just for that reason.
I know you did.
Yeah. Regardless, Winky got socks, which is cool. Alright, I'm sorry, Dobby got his socks. But Winky, she's a mess. She's drunk on butterbeer. She's missing Crouch. I love how she just like passes out, and they just like take a tablecloth and just put it over her.
just cover her up. Sweep it under the rug.
Like, is that really the best thing to do? Yeah, it was a fun little scene. Hermione trying to stick up for their house elf rights. The house elves kind of pushing back, literally and figuratively. Yeah,
Hermione, like, she just kind of she pressed the wrong button.
Yeah.
Like, never really before, I don't think, have we ever seen house elves get angry.
Right.
And that's the feeling that I got from this, is they were not happy with her.
No.
It's like,
it was almost like an insult to them.
Yeah. It's like, we've tried to explain this to you. This is how house elves work.
Yeah.
Leave it alone. Right. And she wouldn't.
Right. They still got their food for Snuffles, which I appreciate. And I think Harry is still in good graces with Dobby.
Oh, definitely. I like Dobby's still on their side to the end, I think. Yeah. But it's he also very much wants to fit in with this group yet. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Even though he knows he's different than them. Yeah. But he still wants to be able to work with them and be friends with them.
Right, right.
So, like you said, when Hermione tried to show that he was different, he's like, please don't bring me into this.
Right, right.
Like, I appreciate what you're doing, but yeah, he knew that the house elves wouldn't go for it either.
No. So if Harry is going to have to go back there, he'll have to just go with Ron. I don't think bringing Hermione back to the kitchen will be a good idea in the future.
Probably not. Yeah.
She's just, I mean, look, I still support her cause. I just think that maybe she's going about it a little bit in the wrong way. She has a lot of things going on right now, you know, and the fact that she's still trying to fight for house elf rights is admirable, but yeah, she's biting off more than she could chew with this group of lovable house elves.
Yep.
Let's see. Speaking of Hermione starts getting hate mail.
She does. Yeah. Every day.
She starts getting harassed via Owl. Like, I can't even imagine, like, a word, like, you hear about people, like, getting, like, online bullied, like, cyberbullying and all that. Like, she's getting it via Owl. Like, how just ridiculous and overwhelming that would be to get, you know, hate mail and bullying by Owl every day.
Yeah. I mean, this kind of reminds me of, like, I guess it was TV shows in the 90s. Mm-hmm. I mean, a lot of times it would have been with, like, fan mail or something.
Yeah.
Where they just bring in these giant bags and dump all this fan mail at their feet.
Right.
And that's kind of what I'm picturing with this hate mail. except their mode of transportation obviously is different. Their postal service works differently. It's owls, so
Sure.
they got this big group of, what do you call a group of owls? I don't know, a pack of
Flock.
owls,
Flock.
flock. I guess they're birds.
Flock
Sure.
is- general for birds, yeah. If there's a different name for a group of owls, let us know.
I love names for groups of stuff.
Oh yeah, it's fun stuff.
Like, what is it? A murder of crows?
Mhm.
It's one of the better ones.
Yeah.
So, in any case, for the time being, a flock of owls,
Whoa.
comes and lands.
I have breaking news, man.
Yes. What's that?
Owls would not be considered a flock.
Okay.
Owls are generally solitary, but when seen together, their group is called a parliament,
I have heard that one. Yeah.
as they have long been considered to be of wise disposition. In Greek mythology, the owl is a symbol for Athena, the goddess of wisdom.
Okay. Well, there you go.
A parliament of owls.
So when Hermione receives this Parliament of Owls, I mean, not only is that a rare sight, well, actually, no. I mean, I guess there's a Parliament of Owls every day at breakfast.
Yeah,
That's kind of awesome.
yeah.
I like it.
We're learning all kinds of new stuff on this podcast, Matt.
Yeah, but she gets her own personal Parliament of Owls.
Yeah. Personal parliament.
Yeah.
Oh, this is going to be so great for the next couple of years. Yeah, like the way this was written, though, I was super confused, and I had to sit on it for a few pages and think about what happened,
Okay.
because it was almost, because like they were making the connection to Rita Skeeter and like her piece in the Witch Weekly.
There you go.
Okay. I couldn't remember if it was that one or the other publication that she writes for.
Yeah, the Daily Prophet is the main newspaper. Witch Weekly, I think Witch Weekly is actually like a magazine.
Right. And that's where she wrote about Hermione and Harry.
Yeah, that was the second most recent article that everybody's upset about right now. Yeah.
So the way that this like scene was written, it kind of in my head made it sound like Rita was the one sending her these letters. Telling her that she wished that she was boiled in frog spawn, which is
Sure.
grotesque. And then like the Bobertuber pus that burned her hands.
Yep.
Like it took me a few pages, like I said, to think about how it was written and realize that it was hate mail coming in from readers of the Witch Weekly because of that article that were mad at Hermione. And that was even weirder to me than Rita herself sending these letters, because I'm like, why would these random people be sending hate mail to this girl, this 14-year-old girl, 15, whatever age she is at this point, in a school? Why? Like, who would take the time to do that?
Basically, I think this is where we learn just how much of a fan base Rita Skeeter has.
Yeah.
How much of a readership she has, and why everybody is willing to print her material.
Sure.
Because if there's a Rita Skeeter article in there, they want to read it.
Sure.
Now, whether or not that's a good thing is a whole separate discussion, and who these people are that think she's a good writer or always telling the truth, or like that's up for discussion on another show. Right. But I think that's what we're getting. But like you said, the fact that they are attacking, I think we determined 15-year-old girl because Hermione's a little bit older.
Right.
It's just
ridiculous.
Yeah. And normally this is, I think, actually almost a downside to the wizard postal system. I never thought about this until right now, but it would be a lot harder to find a Muggle 15-year-old's address to send them hate mail.
Sure.
Than it would be with within the wizarding world, because you just like write their name on a letter and give it to an owl and they find them.
Yeah. And it's not like an email where you could just, immediately drop that into like a junk email folder.
Yeah.
Like, it's coming to you. It's coming to your table.
Yeah, and then it gets worse and worse because like people send the howlers.
Yeah.
And you can't avoid those.
Right. Even if you ignore them, you can't ignore howlers. The longer you ignore them, the worse they get.
We learned that.
We did. So, like,
Neville learned that.
I mean, it's just weird that like Hermione's like getting all of this hate, like regardless of Rita's fan base. Just the fact that people are putting this much time and effort into harassing a child, essentially, is crazy to me. Now, we see it from Mrs. Weasley later on, who's, she clearly read Rita's piece, and she's like, oh, this Hermione girl, I don't know about her. But she didn't go out of her way to attack her. She just kind of shunned her,
Yes.
Which may be worse emotionally, but it's not... Like, she didn't have to put in extra effort in her life to go and express her feelings towards Hermione.
You see, and I find Mrs. Weasley's reaction kind of strange because I'm pretty sure she's met Hermione. Like, Hermione has been at the Weasley's house.
Yeah, she was hanging out with Ginny.
Yeah. And so she knows who Hermione is.
Right.
And it just...
Which
how
might
much
be why
impact...
she's upset, because she's like, I let this girl in my house, and,
I mean, I think Mrs. Weasley's reaction, in my mind at least, is more so not so much anger at Hermione, but she's once again becoming that protective mother for Harry.
Yeah, yeah.
And that because that's kind of what... I've always tried to sort out, are these people angry because Rita's angry and that's how she's writing it?
Mm-hmm.
Or are they angry because they think this girl is hurting Harry Potter?
Right.
And, I mean, most of these people, one way or the other, have never met Harry Potter even.
No.
They just know him by name, know him from all the stories they've heard over the years.
Right.
And they think he's, the savior.
Yeah.
So it's like, got to protect him.
Gotta make sure everything's okay with the famous Harry Potter.
But it just, I never quite get, why there's such this strong reaction about this.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Words can be damaging and powerful, and it was a weird little segment of the chapter of showing a kid getting bullied by random strangers.
Yeah.
So,
but like I said, it also shows the power that Rita Skeeter has too.
Yeah. Horrible.
Unfortunately.
Horrible lady. Then we took a sharp right turn into just amazing, positive goodness, Matt. Why Hermione is off seeking Madame Pomfrey's assistance in her burnt hands. Harry and Ron venture down to Hagrid's class.
Yep.
I just want to say this. For anybody that read my notes, I used a lot of shouty capital letters and exclamation points over this sequence of events that happened. I'm sorry if I stressed people out with my excitement. However, how dare every single one of you out there for not telling me that Nifflers were in the wizard world of Harry Potter? You know how much I love Nifflers. How amazing is this, Matt? This is absolutely incredible. I've been a Niffler fan since, November when the movie came out? And I've been all on board for Nifflers. I'm Niffler this, Niffler that. I have a Niffler keychain. I'm absolutely fascinated with these things. And this whole time, I've thought, this is a cool thing that they came up with for this Fantastic Beasts movie. This is a fantastic little beast that they came up with just for this film.
Yeah. And I was trying to remember how much I've told you in the past. I know at least at some point I gave you generically that some of the beasts in the Fantastic Beasts movie we've seen before, we've heard of before from the Harry Potter series.
Yeah.
I don't know if I gave you specifics.
I
I'm
definitely
guessing I
don't remember
didn't.
specifics.
Like that doesn't sound like it sounds like something I'd leave to be a surprise.
Yeah.
Especially once you got attached to Niffler. I'm like, yeah, he'll enjoy that chapter when we come back.
I vaguely remember you saying like there were some beasts that like we will see like in the main story.
Yeah.
I was thinking like Thunderbird, like that's a pretty big one. That's pretty cool. Maybe like Pickett, Nifflers are in this book, Matt.
They are indeed.
Out of nowhere. This is the surprise of the podcast so far. I will say that. I have not been as surprised as I was when the word Niffler was read in the middle of this chapter.
I'm glad to hear it.
There's been a lot of surprises. There's been a lot of out of left field type of things happening on this show, in this journey that we've come through this far.
Sure.
But, like, here's the thing. If I had never seen Fantastic Beasts yet, if I had read this before seeing that movie, this would mean nothing. This would be like, oh, that's a cool little animal. Like, throw it in the pile of all the other weird little animals that they mention a couple times and then never get back to. Flobberworms. But, like, the fact
that you've seen it in action?
Seen it in action and have fallen in love with it and, like, seen it visually and, like, been able to experience how awesome the little thing is. And then to have it come up in this book now, perfect timing. Just so good. I could have sat here and guessed all night if you were to say, okay, Josh, there's going to be a new beast that Hagrid is taking care of, that he's showing the kids. What do you think this new animal is? I would have been here all night guessing the most random things I could think of.
Yep.
Never would have landed on Niffler. Why?
Pretty sure you...
Because I assumed that was just made for that film, for that book.
I was gonna say, I was pretty sure you would start making up beasts of your own before you started guessing Niffler.
Absolutely. If Hagrid could make up beasts, then I can too. So, Nifflers being in this book in the way that they, like, I have an even more just heartfelt appreciation for these little creatures. And this chapter, this little scene introducing them was definitely written to make them out to be mischievous little critters and not necessarily ones that you would love to have, which they kind of show on display in Fantastic Beasts, but I don't know, man. I don't know how anyone could not love these things, even more so. And I don't know if they're ever going to be mentioned again in these books. I have a theory. About Nifflers. Now that I know that Nifflers are in this world, Matt, oh boy. The wheels were turning, my friend. So excited.
Sure.
Good times, Matt. Nifflers, they found treasure. Hagrid buried some gold. The kids used Nifflers to go sniff out the gold and find them. Good stuff. Good stuff all the way around.
Sure.
But then I started, trying to connect more dots with things. Why are these Nifflers being introduced now? Yeah, I'm working on a theory. I'll just say that. And I don't even know if it's a theory for this book. That's the thing. I don't even know when this could theoretically take place.
Well, like you said, you think this book is going to be the first one we get that kind of doesn't wrap everything up at the end.
Right.
You think there's going to be unfinished business.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So it would make sense for you to come up with a theory that may or may not happen in this book, but is somehow connected.
I'll just throw this out here. I'm just testing the waters. just to get people all riled up.
You're good at that.
Nifflers and bank vaults. Just throw that out there. Okay. Those green fellas, they're tough security. But you know what? Now that Nifflers exist in this world, this changes everything, Matt. Changes the game, my friend.
All right.
Anyway, seriously, honestly, like that was like the coolest surprise ever. Because I'm just going along this chapter, I'm like, oh, house elves, drunk house elves, that's pretty cool. Hermione, she's getting harassed, that's not pretty cool. Nifflers? What? Good stuff, man. Good stuff.
Yep.
I could have ended the reading right there and been satisfied.
Would have been a good week.
Oh, would have been great. But then things just got crazy after that, so we gotta keep talking. We gotta keep doing this show.
We should.
Ron being amazed by Muggle tech is hilarious each time it happens.
Yeah, we just saw it last week, really, with the Aqua Lungs.
Mm-hmm.
I think Harry's trying to explain it to him. It's
right.
like, well, this is how we would do it in Muggle world.
Yeah. So, like, he's talking about, like, surveillance and, like, hidden microphones and stuff. And, again, this is, like, one of those scenes that I think is put in here to rope you back into the fact that Harry Potter takes place in the real world.
Yeah.
You know? Because we get so far away from anything resembling the real world as we know it today, with dragons and half-giants and ghosts in the lake and merpeople, and like we're in like this fantasy world, and it's like, let me tell you about this surveillance, bugging somebody's, house with little microphones, and okay, yeah, we're right back in the real world, aren't we? Let's do this.
Yep, still exists right alongside of it. Just unfortunately, I mean, like as Hermione starts to describe it, she talks about computers and radar, and it's like, okay, yeah, those things, kind of newer technologies, but they go as far back as electricity.
Right. Yeah.
Like you think about it, and like they always talk about using torches in the hallways to light things up.
Yeah.
And otherwise at night it's dark. Like they use torches and fires for light. That's just the way they work, and now we kind of understand a little more why they have to do that.
Right. Yeah. Good stuff though, man. It cracks me up. He is his father's son through and through. Percy, speaking of sons of Mr. Weasley, I just want Percy to stop being Percy for like 1 second. Like just please, Percy, stop being Percy. Like every time he's just more Percy than the last time.
Well, yeah, because every time he's getting further and further into his ministry career, basically.
Yeah.
Like at this point, I mean, I guess he did technically receive one promotion, but now he's basically taken over for Mr. Crouch. So it's almost like another promotion yet. I mean, he's just rising up the ladder almost as fast as Mr. Crouch did, I think.
I just feel like we're getting into Lockhart territory with Percy here, where it's just I'm rolling my eyes so hard anytime Percy's even mentioned and anytime he speaks or interacts, where it's just I just want you to go away, Percy. I don't want you in the story anymore. You're making my head hurt.
Here you go. Next year's Defense Against Dark Arts teacher, Percy Weasley.
No, absolutely not. Dumbledore knows better. If Dumbledore were to hire Percy as Defense Against the Dark Arts, I would quit. I'm done. I'm out of here.
He'd be gone in a year then. You wouldn't have to deal with him anymore.
Except for the entire book of like finding out how I don't have to deal with him again. I can't take it, Matt. I can't take it.
Okay.
Let's see. Champions.
Yeah.
Our champions have been summoned to the Quidditch pitch.
Just what Harry wants to hear, right?
Oh, me too, Matt. I was excited.
Wait, you want Quidditch now?
Well, I'm pretty sure I made some sort of prediction about Quidditch being involved in the final task.
Okay, you did.
So, of course, my ears light up, and I'm just like, "Ooh, Josh is right again." Not quite.
Not quite.
Not quite. They're on the Quidditch pitch, but apparently it's now a giant labyrinth.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah. Magical creatures and spells that they're going to have to diffuse and battle and get past, and I am all in on this.
Yeah, sounds like a good time. Definitely.
Yeah. What a cool way to finish. And the first person to touch the cup in the middle of the labyrinth will win. I feel a very close photo finish happening with those stakes being laid out as such.
Very possible.
Possibly two people grabbing the cup at the same time. Like, look. I mean, you're setting up for a very cliche ending to this sort of thing.
Sure.
Which means it probably won't happen because JK is way smarter than that. But that's where I'm leaning towards already.
Okay.
That could change, Matt. Don't write that down in pen. Is what I'm saying.
That's not an official Muggle prediction.
No. That's just a test in the waters type of prediction. I'm excited. I'm excited to see what is going to be in the maze. Like, what kind of creatures are we going to encounter? Man, so many different creatures, Matt. They could throw a Dementor into like a corner.
Would that be safe?
Nah, is anything safe these days? I don't know.
No, but I mean, Dementors, I mean, they can honestly, well, I guess, I mean, most creatures could kill you if you, I mean, don't know how to deal with them.
And you would think all the older kids would know the Patronus, right?
I mean, they always made the comment that many adults can't form a fully formed Patronus.
That's true.
So,
well, I mean, if the Dementor was just like in a corner and you turn the corner around, like maybe that's not the way you need to go, so you need to go the other direction.
It's possible,
just like a scare tactic type of thing.
Yeah.
What are the centaurs doing these days? I don't know what they would even do. I don't. Matt, I can't stop thinking about the centaurs since somebody brought it up last week, and now that's top of my head each time.
Sure.
I feel like they're going to come back eventually. Probably not this book. Boggarts, maybe? Boggarts would be a good addition.
That would make a lot of sense, yeah.
What else could be in this thing? I don't know. Lots of there's probably things I don't even know about yet that could be in this little maze here. So
it would be a very JK thing to do to introduce things in the middle of the maze.
Yeah. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see what comes of this labyrinth for the final task. But we have a ways to go before we get to that point, I think, unfortunately. Because, let's see, Victor Crumb wants to talk to good old Harry Potter.
Yeah.
He wants to see...
Taking him off into a dark corner.
He wants to see what's up with Hermione.
Hermione or something.
Hermione. Yeah. How can he not say her name by now?
Yeah,
I feel like that's all he should be doing is practicing her name.
I understand you're a foreigner, Victor, but you can at least get a coherent sentence out that we can understand.
How are you going to invite a girl to see you up in your palace across the world?
Exactly. If you really like this girl that much, that's what you should be doing all day, yes.
Yeah.
Practicing how to say her name.
Right. Especially like in between like the lull period between knowing, finishing the second task and knowing what the next task is, and like the waiting period, and like learn her name. Learn it. Understand how to say it.
Even if it's the only English word you can say properly.
Yeah. That should be it. You know why? Because that'll impress her. She'll be like, you know what? He put in time and effort to learn how to say my name. I appreciate that. Victor Crumb. What a dude. he wants to find out from Harry if they got a thing going on. Harry's like, no way. He's like, okay, good, because I kind of want this thing with her. And Harry is like, do you? She's just a friend. This conversation was just typical teenage drama. It was
Absolutely.
It was funny seeing Harry feel like an equal to this 18-year-old Quidditch World Cup superstar.
Exactly. I like how once they kind of cleared up the Hermione thing, it's like they just started talking shop.
Yeah.
It's like, I love seeing you fly. No, I love seeing you fly. When you did, like they just jumped right into it, and I have a feeling like Harry definitely wasn't expecting that from him.
Sure.
But once they started down that road, I have a feeling they could have gone on all day.
Oh yeah.
Talking about flying.
Yep. Maneuvering and such. But they didn't get that. They didn't get that chance, Matt.
No.
There was a rustling in the bushes behind him in the forest, the forbidden forest. Are they actually in the forest? Like, how deep are they? Like,
No, they're just right at the edge.
Okay.
Harry still Harry knows it's still forbidden, and like he was talking about like he's heard noises in the forest. He knows what goes on in there. Like he wouldn't have gone that far.
Right. Okay. It seemed like they were kind of like right there on the fringe, but
yeah, Crumb just wanted to make sure he was away from people.
Because what he was talking about was so important.
Yep.
Victor Crumb. What a weirdo. So Mr. Crouch appears.
Out of the forest.
Out of the forest. Just not in his right mind. Clearly,
yes.
He has some things going on with him that neither Harry nor Victor can really understand or figure out. He's talking to trees and rocks and bushes, and then he's talking to Harry and giving him all these warnings about the Dark Lord, him getting stronger, needing to talk to Dumbledore. Basically just being like that stereotypical crazy person that the hero runs into who's just blabbering a whole bunch of gibberish. Yeah.
Yep.
And it's like, man, that guy was crazy, but there might have been some truth to what he was saying too.
Except, I mean, it's hard to judge exactly what was going on with him, because he would talk about things that you could assume just happened or were going to happen in the near future, but then he kept going on these tirades about the past.
Right.
Like it felt like his mind had just gone back in time. Like he said, he talked about his son and his wife and still being alive, and like it just felt like his mind had been erased.
A little bit, yeah.
But like it reminded me a little bit of like, not quite the same, but like when Lockhart's memory had been, when the spell backfired, like he just, in his case, he just like didn't remember anything.
Right.
But it kind of had that sense where he had to go back and relearn things. Like your mind was sent back to a different place.
Right. To me, this felt like he was under control of somebody, but not 100%, like 95%. In
so
ways
like he was fighting it or something.
Yeah, so like he was having his mind was having these flashes of like, I am overcoming this thing, or conversely like flashing back to the past and remembering like a good memory that he would like randomly pull up from his mind, but then like would fight off all of that and be like, oh, I need to talk to Dumbledore right now. Oh, like he's like trying to get out everything that he can because he knows he's only going to have like a few seconds of clear thought or semi-clear thought, and then would go back to like this cloud of madness that was kind of controlling him. It was weird. It was super weird. But it was written really well. Like I could see all of this playing out, and I could see Harry being like completely freaked out by this. I loved Victor being just mortified by all of this.
Yeah, because this is one of those situations like you almost forget that Victor is actually 3 to 4 years older than Harry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's 18.
Because they were just kind of chummy before this, and now you get this situation that should freak most people out.
Yeah.
When you see this full-grown adult wizard, whatever, and stumble out of the forest, don't know what's going on, and Harry's like on top of it immediately, like he knows what needs to be done, and then Victor, the 18-year-old kid, is like, what's going on? I'm gonna leave this to you,
yeah.
little
I think
14-year-old boy.
Harry like even stepped in front of him and like almost like was like protecting him, you know?
Yeah. But that just goes to show the difference between these two.
Right.
Where Victor, yeah, he's this big Quidditch champion, but Harry is the one who's been through this type of thing before.
Victor's no Gryffindor.
Yeah. You don't necessarily know what's going on, but you're going to step in and do something about it.
Yeah. But what to do? What to do? Does he stay there and try to figure out what's going on? Does he run off to go get Dumbledore? Finally, that's what he decides needs to happen and is allowed to. He gets past Crouch, who keeps grabbing him and dragging him back, and it's a whole situation. So
yeah,
Harry's running off to go get Dumbledore, which, you know, like I want to see where this goes. And then Snape just shows up. Like, every time there is a situation that doesn't need Snape, Snape is there.
Yep. Why is it always Snape? Always at the most inopportune time.
I would have accepted any other professor coming out of that hallway. Any other one as being like, okay, move, please. I need to find Dumbledore. But it's just like, no, there's Snape. Like, the last person that Harry Potter wanted to run into is, of course, there.
Yep.
Oh, every time. It's like Snape has a Marauders map almost, where he's like, and all his map is just Harry Potter. So, like, he just follows his footsteps all over.
He just has a Harry Potter tracker.
Yeah, so he could just pop up at all inopportune times because he knows exactly where Harry Potter is coming and going to. That's the only logical explanation for this, Matt. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I think it's interesting that Snape was down there visiting with Dumbledore. Like, this Snape being here wasn't just put in here just for the sake of conflict, because Dumbledore quickly came out and then they rushed off to go see what Mr. Crouch was up to. Like, Snape didn't really interfere too much. He, like, delayed the process by a few seconds, but
yep,
there was no impact of Snape being there other than just Snape being there and creating more conflict between him and Potter, which makes me think that something else is going on. Snape knows something or is trying to know something.
Snape was visiting Dumbledore for a reason.
Yes, what that reason is, I don't know yet. Will we know by the end of this book? Maybe. We'll see. Maybe he's talking about next year's opening for Defense Against the Dark Arts. He's like, look, this Mad Eye guy, he's not going to last. He's gone after this year. We need to talk about next year's position. So then, when they get back to Crouch and Crumb, Crouch is no longer there. Crumb has been stunned and is on the ground. And this is a weird situation that just got even more strange.
It did. It's not looking good for anybody right
Not
now.
looking good for anybody. But like conversely of like me being mad that Snape is always around when you don't want him, Mad-Eye Moody is always around exactly when you need him. Like, he is the complete opposite of Snape when it comes to just being there at the right time.
Well, that's why he was so good at his job.
I mean, it takes him a little longer to get places because of his
Exactly.
peg leg.
Moody definitely needs a better... Like, you would think magically, like, short of growing his leg back, which... I don't know. There's just got to be a better magical form of transportation for him. Like, get Moody on a broomstick or something.
Sure. He's hitting that flask a little too hard for a boomstick, I think.
I don't know. It just feels like, yeah, if he's there, going to be rushing around on a regular basis, he needs a better form of transportation.
Well, no one's asking him to rush around. He just always happens to be doing that.
And he's always like 5 seconds too late.
Yeah, which is convenient, but yeah, fascinating. I just like when it happened, I was like, oh, thank goodness Moody's there. But like 2 pages ago, I'm like, what's Snape doing there? Polar opposites.
Yep.
So then Igor comes strolling down, and he's all in a panic because his champion is stunned or recovering from being stunned. Dumbledore's assisted him in that case.
Well, it doesn't help that Karkaroff has, since the beginning of the tournament, really been all about conspiracy.
Right. And that's all he's thinking about here is the Triwizard Tournament.
Yep.
He's like, this is horrible. What's going on? Blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, there's, a lot of weird things going on right now, and the tournament is not at the forefront of importance, I would think.
Except for Karkaroff, that it is. Like,
yes.
That's the only reason he's even at Hogwarts.
Right.
Like, he wouldn't be here. He really wouldn't come of his own accord. Like, Dumbledore had to talk him into it, it sounds like.
Yeah. But it's like, yeah, I mean, your champion just got attacked by, one of the top dogs at the Ministry. Like, there's a problem here that may be bigger than the tournament itself. As crazy as that sounds. So yeah, just nothing surprised me of all this. Crouch is gone. They don't know what happened to him. Victor, he seems to be okay. He'll recover. He'll be fine. And then just a lot of mystery.
Yep.
This chapter didn't solve anything, and that upset me, Matt.
You were looking for answers.
I was looking for answers. I thought that we were getting it this chapter for sure.
No, not quite.
It just muddled everything up even more so.
Hey, we did find Mr. Crouch temporarily, at least. That was kind of an answer.
We did. But I also, going into the chapter, or a couple pages into the chapter, I thought this was going to be the big Winky chapter that I've been waiting for weeks now. And that wasn't the case. So it's just like, these loose ends just get more and more frayed as the chapters go along.
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry for being down on it. I was so happy about the Niffler, Matt, and then it just kind of went downhill from there for me, because it was just confusion, and, I mean, Crouch is back, but he's crazy and mad, and nobody knows what's going on, and I don't know. Just more questions than answers. Story of my life.
We'll get you answers eventually.
We will. Yes. Before we head on to chapter 29, though, Matt, I think it would be a good time that we check in on the weekly Muggle poll.
We could do that.
The Muggle poll you put up on Twitter at Tales from GH. You do it every week, every Monday, 4 p.m. Pacific time. You give the folks out there a few hours to respond to the poll, to vote on the various choices that you have assembled for the question you have asked. This week, you are a man after my heart, and I will say that the audience kind of crushed that.
I figured they might. But. Yeah. So this week I asked, they're cute, cuddly, and find all sorts of shiny things. But They wreck houses. So the question is, do you want a Niffler as a pet?
Define wreck houses. Because, I mean, we have a bunch of kids. They wreck a house like nobody's business. Could a Niffler outdo a tornado of kids?
I guess I've always pictured it this way. Like, Nifflers go after shiny things.
Yeah.
So just think of shiny things in your house.
Sure.
There's all sorts of things hung on walls. Think of your kitchen. There's pots, pans, knives all over the place.
Yeah.
If you go into a Muggle house, if they would get into like the walls, maybe you could say wires are shiny.
Oh, all the copper wiring. Oh boy.
Like that's not a good thing.
That's true.
I'm picturing when he says wreck houses, like I picture these Nifflers like putting holes in walls and just tearing up everything.
Yeah, they can squeeze into many different little places, can't they?
Yeah. Like like there's no way to stop them really, especially when you have that much shiny stuff around. Like it's just they can't help themselves.
It's like taking
what
an
they do
alcoholic to a bar, Matt.
Yes.
Conversely, though, I will say that you get to own a Niffler, and that's pretty cool.
Sure.
You can hold it.
I mean,
you can pet it. You can make friends with it.
Newt does manage somehow.
I mean, he has a pretty cool briefcase that allows him to host many
It does
different
help. It does
beasts without wrecking houses. So what did the people say? What was the votes?
Well, like you said, not to your liking. We had 63% with no, but a good chunk of people, 37% with yes.
Yeah.
So you got a number of people on your side. Maybe not as many as you wanted, but
That's okay. More Nifflers for me, Matt.
there you go.
Yeah.
Silver lining.
That's right. All right. Let's thank you to everybody for responding to that and participating in the Muggle poll. It's always fun finding out what you guys think about the stuff that we're thinking about.
Yep.
Moving on, let's go to chapter 29, shall we?
We shall. Chapter 29 is titled The Dream. And I know we didn't really... Yep.
Before a single word was read of this chapter, all I knew was that it was chapter 29 and it was named The Dream.
Okay.
Only thing I could think of, and I was shaking my head the entire time, was we're going back to Trelawney's class.
Does kind of seem like her area.
I was absolutely 100% sure. I was like, I'm not ready for more Trelawney. Like I'm I'm emotionally spent on Trelawney and her craziness, but you know, I can't stop it at this point.
Yeah. So yeah, once again, I didn't mention it during the first chapter, but we're getting towards the end of the book. We don't have new characters to talk about.
Well, I mean, we could have said that last week, and we had a few new characters, so.
Yeah, you would think so, but yeah, we did have a few last week.
Sure. Anyway, Friend George. The twins are up
Gotta
to
love 'em.
something, Matt.
Yeah, you've kind of said that this whole book, I think.
Yeah. They're talking about blackmailing somebody. They're sending mysterious...
that's not usually a good thing.
Yeah, they're sending mysterious outposts to somebody that we don't know of. You know, Ron mentions that like they've been kind of obsessed with money. They've been wanting to open a joke shop, which requires money, which, you know, has caused them to be more interested and possibly obsessed with earning as much as they can in the meantime. All fascinating stuff. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that whatever blackmailing they're talking about doing, I feel like it has something to do with Ludo Bagman. We saw him mysteriously talking to some goblins a few weeks back. We know that they are familiar with Ludo. They've had a working relationship throughout this book, it seems. They won a healthy pot of gold from betting with him at the Quidditch World Cup early on. They've talked to him about some fake wands and some other stuff that he might be interested in. So I feel like it would be weird if they were talking about or to anyone other than Ludo Bagman at this point. I could be wrong, but that's just a gut feeling.
Yeah, your theory seems to make sense. That would be logical.
Also feel like there might be an underground gambling ring going on with the Triwizard Tournament. So we know Ludo is a gambler. We know he likes to gamble. We saw that at the beginning of the book, right? So then I'm thinking, okay, he was talking to those goblins. Goblins are all about money. I mean, they work at the bank, Gringotts. I don't know if all goblins work there, but I have a feeling that they are good with money, or, like, they're like the responsible nifflers, like they want all the money, but they're really good at it too. They're just not like crazed maniacs like nifflers are. So maybe these goblins were talking to Ludo at the bar about gambling opportunities or loans or something like that regarding gambling. Friend George, they could be gambling, because, again, they're obsessed with making some money to open up this joke shop. Now, here's the thing. Here's where I'm going to go full Muggle theory on you real quick, Matt. What if Ludo Bagman, this entire time, this entire tournament, has been offering assistance to Harry Potter, not because he's a bad guy, or not because he is just a giant fan of Harry Potter, but because he's betting on Harry Potter to win the thing. And as a judge, he would have inside information, which makes gambling on a participant very, very bad for Ludo Bagman. But if he could help Harry Potter, help him just a little bit, just push him in the right direction, his odds would increase dramatically as far as being able to claim victory in this Triwizard Tournament. So maybe Ludo's not betting directly on Harry Potter, but maybe he's helping Friend George, per se, with gambling on Harry Potter to win the whole thing. And he's using his influence as judge, as knowing what's coming, to just push it forward just a little bit,
Sure. Okay. Here's something to help your theory a little bit.
Okay.
Maybe.
Sure.
Because it kind of brings in a third party.
Okay.
We get a quote from Moody when they're talking to him and kind of talking about Harry in the tournament.
Uh-huh.
And he says, "I'll be very surprised if he doesn't win." Why would Moody be so sure about that?
I think Moody sees a lot in Harry Potter. Well, I mean, we've seen that already. He thinks very fondly of him. He said that he would make a great Auror. I just think that Moody thinks that Harry Potter is special. And not just thinks, but he knows it because he's seen some things in his day. Like he has the experience to say there's something special about this kid, other than the obvious special things that everybody knows about anyway. So I don't know if he would be in on this whole gambling ring going on. That doesn't seem like Moody's interest at all, but maybe so. I mean, he's a drinker. He's a he's not a risk taker. He's not. No, he's anything but a risk taker. Like, he is the most anti-risk taker of them all. He is very calculated in what he does, which, you know, I don't know. I don't see him being part of it at all. I just think that he feels pretty good, very confident about old Harry Potter. For reasons completely different than Ludo might. So yeah, speaking of Moody, I do like and kind of really appreciate that whenever he's described as talking, it's always described as a growl. Like, for some reason, that really fits the character, and it makes me excited to see him come to life on the big screen, on the movie, you know?
Sure. It makes a lot of sense, yeah. I guess when I think of Moody, I always think of the term grizzled veteran.
Yeah. Which kind of fits with, like, Moody growled, or he growled.
Exactly.
It's always a growl with him.
I guess I've never noticed the wording on that, but
Yeah.
I believe you.
Yeah.
At least enough for you to notice it. So.
Right. You know, other characters have, like, their distinctive, like, descriptions. You know, Snape they're always talking about, like, his curled lip, you know. But, like, Moody, like, every time it's not Moody said, it's Moody growled. Which, you know, depending on tone and inflection, it could be various different growls, but he's still,
sure,
like you said,
sure.
grizzly old veteran here that's, well, he's, you know, rough to the core. He dropped the constant vigilance term once again.
Kind of his pet phrase, I think.
Mm-hmm. I'm excited to see that come to fruition in some way, shape, or form. Let's see. Sirius Black. I really enjoy when he throws down, like, serious parenting at Harry Potter. You know, like, just puts him in his place.
Yes.
Because he hasn't had that chance to do it his entire life, but he feels so natural doing it.
Sure.
You know, even if it's by letter, you know, he's still like, you will write me back. You will tell me that you understand. These are the rules. Let's just end this conversation now. Except for the fact that you're still going to write me back and say that you understand.
Yeah. He it's like he's been waiting to do this for the past 13 years. And now he's finally got his chance, and he's not going to let the Potters down.
Yeah, but, like, weirdly, I think Harry's been waiting for this too. Like, this form of parenting. And
he's doing what any good kid would do, pushing back.
Yeah. He's like, okay, this is the rules of engagement now. Let's go. So I like the dynamic that's continuing to develop between the two. Like, even through letters, it's still there, and it's still very strong, and I appreciate that. But the thing I dreaded going into this chapter finally happened, Matt.
Yep.
And we head up to Professor Trelawney's very warm, very relaxing classroom.
One of your favorite places, I know.
We gotta learn about Mars. We gotta learn about Neptune. We gotta learn about the placement of Mars in relation to Neptune. What a whack job she is, Matt. She drives me crazy, but I kind of love her because she is so wacky.
Sure.
She just drives me crazy in such weird ways that I could never really fully articulate. You know, it's definitely not like a Percy or a Lockhart situation.
Oh, yeah. Someone you can tolerate, at least.
No, because she just doesn't care. Like, she is her own person, and no matter what, like, she's going to be exactly who she is.
Yep.
She just owns it to the max. So Harry Potter drifts off a little bit and has some sort of dream. We're back at a house. I'm guessing we're back at Voldy's house. Voldy's in a chair. We don't see him still.
Yep.
Wormtail is there. about to get fed to a snake, but doesn't. A whole lot of things going on in this dream.
Yeah. The biggest difference we notice between this dream and the previous dream that seems to be taking place in the same, like you said, the same house. Well, the thing I noticed, at least, was that this time Voldemort can actually use a wand.
Yes.
Whereas previously, like, we still don't see what form he's in.
Right.
But we keep hearing, like, Wormtail has to move the chair. Wormtail has to feed him.
Mm-hmm.
Wormtail has to take care of Nagini. Like, Voldemort can't do anything. But in this one, we see him use a wand.
He's getting more powerful.
Seems to be progress.
Mm-hmm. Progress for the sake of progress. Harry was also brought there by an eagle owl, which is fascinating.
Yep.
And it doesn't seem like they know that he's there, but he kind of feels like they do know, or Voldy at least knows. Which kind of goes back to my whole thing about they are definitely connected in deeper ways than we understand at this point. But is this a dream? Is this a vision? You know, Trelawney, like, when he wakes up, like, she's the most excited we've ever seen Trelawney ever. She's like...
Well, yeah, because he's apparently, like, writhing on the floor.
And she lives for this. She's like, finally, we've moved past tea leaves. We are getting some action. You know, like, it reminds me of... You've seen Ghostbusters, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. When they get, like, their first call, and they're just like, this is real. We're going to go bust some ghosts. Like, this is like, we have been waiting for this moment our entire careers type of thing.
Yeah, it's like, we know this exists, but finally, someone else actually thinks it exists too, and we can prove it to them.
Right. And we could use our expertise, and we could be, you know, exactly what they need right now. And that's what she's trying to be. And it's so cute and adorable.
Very much.
But she's so crazy. She's just so crazy. So we don't know. We don't know anything about the dream. We don't know what it means. We don't know how real it is. We know nothing. Again, another chapter, Matt, where we just know nothing.
Yep.
But we do know that Harry Potter's about to go talk to Dumbledore.
He is.
And first he tries kicking the gargoyle after the lemon drop password doesn't work. I would not suggest kicking gargoyles.
No, not usually a good idea.
No. But he's a dumb 14-year-old boy, so what are you going to do? Exactly. And then he starts just listing off candy, right? He's like, okay, the lemon drop doesn't work. What other kind of candy might Dumbledore like and appreciate so much that he would use it for a password?
Mm-hmm.
Dumbledore. Just never stop being Dumbledore, you know?
Yeah. He needs a new password system.
Yeah.
Like,
cockroach cluster.
Yes.
And Harry just stumbled upon it. He's just like naming off things that he knows that he would like.
But it's one of those things, like, if Harry is essentially trying to hack the system.
Yeah.
And so if he can guess it within, 5-10 tries,
right,
you need a new password.
Yeah, this is essentially like using your pet's name as your password.
Yeah.
You know. It's just... Dumbledore is just too trusting. He's too... I want to say naive, and I know everybody's going to scream at me for saying that he's naive, but he kind of is sometimes, too.
Sure.
You know?
I mean, unless he wants company.
That's true.
He doesn't mind people visiting.
That's true.
Obviously, that lemon drop password, I think, worked for... I mean, we don't even know how long he actually had that password before he changed it.
Yeah. Yeah. And why did he change it? You know? Does he change it with the exit of each Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher? You know? Who knows?
Yeah.
Anyway, I mean, that's pretty much the end of the chapter, Matt. You didn't leave me much there to be excited about. I just kind of ended the chapter mad at you for ending the reading. Val informed me that you had sent her a message on Twitter warning her not to read ahead because apparently some other listeners out there accidentally read through because this was such a short chapter.
Yeah. I mean, we'll get into that in some of the emails, I think. But yeah, there were. It was an easy chapter to keep reading if you weren't paying attention.
Sure. Yeah, it ended like pretty much mid-sentence, it felt like.
Yeah, left hanging for sure.
Yeah, so not cool. But
You're welcome.
Just makes the next 3 weeks just ever more excruciating, man. It can't happen soon enough. I need to see this movie. I need to find out answers that I've been looking for. I just need a bunch of stuff here. And these 2 chapters didn't give me much except a Niffler and a drunk house elf. For that, I thank you. For the rest, nah, you're not getting a pass. So,
all right.
Let's dive into some emails.
We should do that. Got a lot of emails this week on top of just all our entries for the giveaway. So
you guys are excited this week.
Yeah, hang with us. First email this week comes from Rihanna.
What's up, Rihanna?
Says, Josh, you mentioned that JK has been doing nothing lately. This is going back to last week when we were talking about this.
I mean, I just came up with another book that she could be writing.
Says, you're joining the Harry Potter franchise in good times, my friend. After JK finished the last book, book 7 she's talking about, she basically swore off Harry Potter for the rest of her life. She said his story is over and she's moving on. She was pretty done with it by the end. I was just about to start my freshman year in high school when book 7 came out. I was 14. She didn't start making Harry Potter content again until last year when I was 23. We had to wait almost a decade for her to pick up the series again. Granted, she did do more. She did start Pottermore and add content that way, but I'm mostly talking about books and movies. So that said, feel blessed that you are starting the series now that she's willing to pick it up again and write about it again. And we are all crossing our fingers that one day she will write Hogwarts a history. That would be so great.
Yes.
I would also be interested in a book strictly about the Hogwarts founders. That would be fantastic as well. Anyway, hope you feel better about the content that is finally coming out.
I mean, no. I feel spoiled and entitled, and I want all of it, but this is the life I've chosen, Matt.
Yep. All right. Next email then from Brent.
Hi, Brent.
Says, once again, I missed my window last week for writing an email because I thought I'd be cute and vie with some of the others for the coveted last email spot. But then I thought about it and said to myself, don't you worry about them lasties. Don't forget the infamous words of the great Ricky Bobby. If you ain't first, you're last. So I'm just going to go for first from now on.
Oh, sorry, Brent. You lost that one too.
He did. But just by one. Well, I guess if he's not first, he's last. Okay.
That's right.
There you go. A few thoughts on the last episode. First, I'd like to say to Josh, don't worry about The Cursed Child. Even if it isn't on Broadway by the time you're allowed to see it, there will still be some high school or other local theater group performing it. So keep your head up.
True.
Next, when Josh asked why they hadn't created Google for Wizards, I was thinking there's a more simple answer than they don't use computers. Remember, this story is taking place in 94 and 95. Muggles didn't have Google yet. Oh, wait. As I write this note, Matt just pointed that out. So I guess I'll move on. And yes, I take notes on what you say in the episode, just like you take notes when you're reading the chapters.
Someone needs to hold us accountable for crazy stuff we say.
Oh, yeah. However, something they did have in 1995 was television cameras that could go underwater. Why the heck didn't they have? Why didn't they set that up for people to watch? As it was, imagine being a spectator. They go underwater and then nothing for an hour. Maybe Lee Jordan was doing ESPN style filler, but then Atari Pong Alex said the same thing in his email. So strike 2. Well, as for that, I think we're going to have to rule that out after these chapters we read this week, right?
Right.
When we find out that technology is just not going to work at Hogwarts.
Yeah, that's true.
So, to answer Josh's question about why Myrtle was in the lake, I really like to think it's because she was having tea with the giant squid. But that also got me thinking about the mer people hunting the squid and whatnot. We already know the lake can support ghost life, so how about this? What if the mer people actually already caught and killed the giant squid?
Mm-hmm.
And what we have swimming around here is in reality just his ghost, forever haunting and taunting the mer people. Think about it. It answers a lot of questions, and I know what you're thinking. We saw in book 2 how the ghost world and physical world can interact. I'm sure that a ghost giant squid can make water do certain things, like catch food or help a poor Creevy brother back into the boat.
That was my argument.
Yep. It'd be an interesting theory. I'm sure you could, write in some manipulation of water, but
sure.
I don't know. I don't know if I'd buy it.
Yeah.
Finally, in regards to Matt's overly long discussion about Fleur's sister's participation in the second task and what it would have taken for her parents to agree to such a thing. Well, don't forget, my dear professor, who would be the one speaking with Mr. and Mrs. Delacour? Madame Maxime. I'm not so sure about that, but I'll let you have it for now. 8 foot tall, towering half giant who would rip your head off and use it for an appetizer, Madame Maxime. I'm sure she can be, how do we say, an imposing woman when she wants to be. It says that's all for this week. For this week, I only have one thing to say. Nifflers.
Yes.
So
Man,
yeah,
I don't want to think about a ghost squid. That makes me sad.
Yeah, I don't think that's necessarily a better solution at all. So
yeah,
I just like to think that, yeah, they may hunt him, but he always evades them.
Right.
Anyway, thank you for the theories, Brent.
Of course.
Let's see. We got a quick email here from Rhonda, our winner this week.
Our new champion.
Yeah. It says, after listening to your last episode, I thought I'd better write to let you know that it is possible for Hufflepuffs and Slytherins to live in harmony. My husband and I are proof. He's got the ambition, and I have the nurturing.
Well, I'm glad there's proof out there of good things to come of Hufflepuff Slytherin dynamics, but I wouldn't trust it personally.
All right.
I'm glad it works for some people, but like that would be a deal breaker for me at this point. Thank goodness Val is a Gryffindor.
Okay, that was my next question. I don't know if we've mentioned that before.
Yes.
All right, Val's a Gryffindor, you're a Hufflepuff. Got it.
Yep.
Next email from Nikki.
Hey, Nikki.
Says, hey, Matt and Josh, I just caught up with your podcast last week, and I was having a very hard time doing a very hard time doing 2 chapters a week now. Seems like we've heard that before.
Yeah. Pretty much everybody that gets caught up with our podcast is like, you guys are crazy. Why are you doing this?
They love binging it, and then it's like, oh, so slow. Mm-hmm. All right, but going on this adventure with Josh reminds me of the first time I read through the books and all the different theories everyone talked about. Some of them are pretty crazy, and some of them were crazily on point, just like Josh tends to be. As for your talk about the play, Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, and whether or not it should be considered canon, J.K. Rowling has already commented on this. Now, I signed up for Twitter so I could participate in your polls, but honestly, I don't really do anything else on Twitter, so I was unable to figure out how to forward this to you. So she just took a screenshot. This is actually a tweet from JK herself. People were commenting about Cursed Child and asking questions, of course. Mm-hmm. So this was actually back in June of 2015. She tweeted this out. It says, the story of the Cursed Child should be considered canon. Jack Thorne, John Tiffany, Jack Thorne, the guy we mentioned last week who did the bulk of the writing, I think. John
Okay.
Tiffany.
I thought you were naming new characters. I'm like, whoa, I need to write these down.
Nope. So Jack Thorne, John Tiffany, the director, and I, JK, developed it together.
Okay.
So JK considers it canon.
Good enough for me.
Yeah. So there you have it. Take it for what you will, whether you like it or not.
Yep.
So yes, thank you, Nikki, for pointing that out.
Yeah. And thank you for diving into the weird world of Twitter just for our sake.
Yes, we love you for it. Let's see. What else we got here? We got an email from Chelsea.
Hi, Chelsea.
Says, I started listening to your podcast about a month ago, and I love it. I'm a longtime Harry Potter lover, so I just jumped in where you were and figured things out along the way. I'm so happy I found your podcast because it helps feed that Harry Potter addiction. Anyways, I've finally listened to your prologue podcast and may have figured out why Josh assumed Hagrid was a half-giant. In the prologue, Josh says that he's seen the first movie a while ago. He said the only thing he remembered was a snake and a giant with a pink umbrella. Mm-hmm. Later on in the show, he again mentions the giant with the pink umbrella. So I'm assuming since he saw the movie and mentioned this twice, that's how he assumed Hagrid was some type of giant.
But in the movie, I mean, I don't think they ever address him as being a giant or a half giant.
No, but apparently you already assumed he was some sort of giant. And your logic behind it was he couldn't be a full giant. He wasn't big enough.
Right.
But if you were already assuming you said he was a giant with a pink umbrella.
Yeah.
So, and if you assume then he's not a full giant, well, then he's got to be a half giant, right?
Yeah, that's what I said.
Okay. So I think that's just a conclusion you came to all on your own. I don't think anyone pushed you around on that one.
No.
It's
just my
your own assumption.
Dumb look.
Anyway, thank you for pointing that out. Yeah, I definitely haven't had time to go back and listen to all the episodes.
Sure. Man,
so
Chelsea's missed all kinds of stuff, though. She only picked up a month ago? Whew.
Yeah.
There's some gold back in those old episodes.
I'm sure she'll stumble across it eventually. All right. Next email from Katie.
Hi, Katie.
Says, taking a break from the end of school insanity to email. It's amazing how my perspective has changed from when I first read these books back when I was 12 or so. I was like, oh, of course people are sending Hermione hate mail because they believe whatever the newspaper says. Now, as a woman in my late 20s, I cannot imagine what would possess grown adults to do this to a 15-year-old girl.
Right?
Why? Where is the Hogwarts mail scanning? How did these dangerous things get through? Come on, Dumbledore. Put down the lemon drops and handle this responsibility. Okay, rant over. Let's talk about nifflers.
Yes.
I thought Josh would get excited, and it seems from his notes that he is. I'm so glad. I love the description of the nifflers when I first read them. Also, it makes me sad that Hagrid, my beloved Hagrid, who deals with prejudice about his gianthood, is that a word?
Gianthood? Yeah, sure.
Gianthood? All right. On a daily basis, would be so quick to say that all foreigners can't be trusted. You know better than that, Hagrid. But I still love you because you're Hagrid.
I put that in my notes too. I was a little upset about that. I'm like, Hagrid, come on now, you're better. You are better than this, Hagrid.
So, in this chapter in particular, I guess I've always kind of gotten the impression he's not necessarily actually angry at all foreigners. I think, well, one, he's just trying to protect Harry and Dumbledore, like he always does.
Right.
But I think that everything is being kind of pushed off kilter because of his current relationship with Madame Maxime.
Sure.
I think I think Hagrid thought they had something real going, but then as soon as he brought up the half giant thing, ever since then she's kind of shunned him, and I don't think Hagrid took too kindly to that.
No, and I'm not one to to say what his intentions are, but like the fact that he just broadly put everybody that's not from Hogwarts or England into this bubble of all these foreigners can't be trusted, like, that's super prejudice.
Yeah.
You know, like, regardless of, like, how brokenhearted he is, or, like, the fact that he doesn't really like Igor and he's having issues with Madame Maxime, like, to just broadly say you can't trust foreigners, it's like, you know.
Well, like, I guess I've always just taken it as Hagrid is overreacting. Like, he hasn't completely sorted through his feelings and figured out exactly why he feels this way, what's making him react this way.
Sure.
I think it's just kind of his instant reaction, and he, at this time, how things came together, he's just lashing out. And I honestly don't think that's truly how he feels about the situation.
No, but at the same time, though, you know, like, if we're looking at it from, like, a perspective of, like, a think piece perspective here. Like, those words, what he said to a young, impressionable, dumb 14-year-old boy, like, that's the kind of stuff that breeds and develops feelings of, like, hate and prejudice towards outsiders, quote unquote, or
Sure.
foreigners, like, regardless of how he really feels, like, those kind of broad generalizations and statements are dangerous.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, like you said, Hagrid's kind of in a position of authority right now.
Absolutely.
He's an authority figure that we know, and he should know, Harry looks up to.
He was the first adult that Harry's probably ever trusted, other than the crazy cat lady that babysat him, ever, you know, his entire life.
Yeah.
So, like, what he says has weight and has impact. Like, regardless if it's just an emotional outburst or what it is, it's still potentially harmful.
Yeah, I would fully agree with that.
Yeah.
I guess it's just, as we've seen in the past from Hagrid, he doesn't always think things through.
No, 100%, yes.
So.
That's why I didn't harp on it too much. I did notice it, and it was, like, kind of jarring to hear, like, the words foreigners, like, in a derogatory sense like that.
Yep. For the record, I know this is going to come up in later emails as well.
Okay.
This isn't the only one that mentioned it. Good. But so yeah, I'm glad we kind of talked that out a little bit.
Yeah.
Next email, though, is from Marissa.
Hi, Marissa.
Says, I have finally caught up on your podcast. A lot of people doing that this week. There will be a feast in the great hall of my mind tonight. First, it has to be said, if Val hadn't already come on the podcast to defend herself and assure everyone that she is not giving Josh hints, that I would totally be on board with the idea. I think she means Val coming on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, not giving you hints.
Oh, dang it.
I don't think she's on board with that. But yes, that was worked out to everyone's benefit, I think.
Sure.
Anyway, to clear one thing up from before, you talked briefly about how many kids are at Hogwarts. I think Harry's classes and the next few are so small because the people that were fighting Voldy the first time around were the people that would more than likely be having kids at the time. So they died trying to make the world safer for their future children. That would make sense as to why these class sizes are so small. So the school theoretically could normally have about 1,000 students, but there are some classes around this time now that are smaller because of the years of war that went on previously.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I could understand that. Well, from the books at least, we don't necessarily know a lot about the years right before Harry Potter and all those events and how many people died and that kind of thing.
Right.
So, yeah, it definitely could. I mean, we know Voldemort did a lot of killing.
Yeah.
Definitely. A lot of people died.
Yep.
He was known for it. But, yeah. So could that affect numbers? Sure. I think so. The first few times I read about the tournament, I never really thought about what the kids in the stands would be doing for the second task. I mean, during the first one, they would have had Bagman commentating. But for the second one, nothing. Because we didn't even have Hermione or Ron's accounts of what it was like for the audience since they were underwater, like the damsels in distress. Come on, JK. We need to know if they were able to see what was happening.
No, I'm telling you, it's like standing at the end of a marathon.
Yep.
You're just sitting there waiting for something to happen.
I really did like that analogy. Like that made a lot of sense. It's like people actually do that.
Yeah.
And I honestly don't understand it. Like,
and it's a social activity. You stand there, you talk to the people you're standing next to or sitting next to, and it's like
I mean,
cool.
I guess it's not much different than like standing in line for a movie.
Right.
You get about the same interaction with people. You're not really doing anything.
Sure.
You're just there with people for hours.
Right.
Yeah. People do it. Who knows?
I mean, plus, those kids don't care. It's time away from their classes that they would normally be in. Like they're all just doing kid stuff. It's like an assembly that, is equally as boring as most school assemblies.
Oh, yeah. Kids can entertain themselves.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, especially little magical kids like them.
Yeah, they all pulled out their wands. Oh, can you imagine Fred and George going through the stands like selling fake wands?
Sure, yeah.
Oh, that'd be the perfect venue for them.
Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff going on.
Yeah.
Everybody's so worried about them being bored and uninterested for a whole hour. Like, man, this is a great hour for those kids.
Yep. The end of Padfoot Returns chapter made me curious. Who would you be really willing to eat rats for in order to stay close enough to them, close enough to keep them safe, or be able to get there quickly if they needed you? That is an interesting question.
I'd eat a rat for my family.
Yeah?
Yeah. My immediate family.
I've always kind of wondered, too, like, when he transforms into Snuffles? Yeah, Snuffles.
Snuffles.
I was going to call him Snuggles for some reason. Then that's no. Okay. Snuffles. He, like, how much of a dog's mentality and taste does he acquire? Like, dogs will eat a lot of different things than humans will.
Sure.
And, like, not really mind.
I mean, we have to imagine that, like, Wormtail lived as a rat for years.
It's true. He at least was treated as a rat, and Ron probably fed him, just scraps, I guess.
Yeah. And Prongs, I'm sure Prongs wasn't eating, like, cheeseburgers or anything, like, when he was Prongs, I'm sure he was eating grass and whatever. So I think they probably take on a lot of the characteristics of the animals.
Yeah. So I do think in that form, it would be easier for him to take. It wouldn't be as odd. I mean, because I don't think he was sitting there in the cave as Sirius Black and gnawing down on a rat.
Right.
Like, I would definitely do that in dog form.
I mean, I don't see a lot of dogs eating rats, but I mean, stray dogs on the street, like, they're totally
exactly. It's what he could get his hands on.
Yep.
I mean, if he caught a rabbit one night, maybe he'd eat that or something. I don't know.
Sure.
Finally, I'm glad that Josh wised up about Rita Skeeter and has backed off on the Ravenclaws don't exist thing. It was really starting to make me upset every time he would bring it up.
Look, the only reason I'm not talking about Ravenclaws don't exist anymore is because nothing's going on with the Ravenclaw once again. So,
oh boy. Okay. Next email from Harry, not Potter.
Hi, Harry.
Says, a quick thought on last week's reading before I jump into this. If the wizarding world has a truth potion called Veritas Serum, why do they still have trials? Or even worse, why do they imprison Sirius without one? We've already heard how some of the former Death Eaters escaped sentencing, saying they were under curses to act for Voldemort. Why not feed them a spoonful of Veritas Serum and make sure? Or give Sirius some and ask him what happened to the Potters? Or to find out who opened the Chamber of Secrets? It would especially be of use this year, since they have no idea how Harry's name ended up in the Goblet of Fire. Maybe there's an antidote or something, but I am fascinated by the wizarding justice system. If you have a foolproof, 100% accurate way of getting someone to tell the truth.
With great power comes great responsibility.
Well, so we don't know that much about Veritas Serum yet.
Right.
But I will discuss it a little bit because we brought it up here. I'm pretty sure, from what I remember, that even Veritas Serum is not 100% foolproof.
That was my question.
Yeah. I believe it makes the drinker much more likely to tell the truth.
Mm-hmm.
But I like to think of it in the same way that we all know that with the right person, even a lie detector test can be fooled.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yes. And so it's basically the same thing. If you have someone well-trained with a strong enough mind, I think they can get past the Veritas Serum.
Yeah.
It's going to make it harder for them to keep their secrets.
Right.
Definitely. But I don't think it's foolproof.
Sure. Also, isn't it banned? Isn't it an illegal substance?
I think they said it was like closely guarded by the ministry, kind of like, yeah, kind of like, I mean, obviously there's going to be fringe cases everywhere. It's kind of like the animagus, like,
sure,
they're supposed to be registered, but obviously people learn to do it and don't register. So
right.
If there's a rule about it, someone's going to break it.
Yep.
On to this week. Josh, I was so happy that the Niffler showed up. I still haven't seen Fantastic Beasts yet. Slacking, I know. So I'll have to skip ahead in the podcast to avoid spoilers when you bring it up. I promise I'll get to it soon.
What are you waiting for, Harry, not Potter?
I couldn't answer that for you.
Unbelievable.
I winced when Harry said that he hadn't noticed that Ron's gold had disappeared. It probably came out wrong, but it was the kind of thing that a stupid 14-year-old boy with a vault full of gold to his name would say. And I'm glad Ron called him out on it.
Yeah.
I kind of thought as soon as Ron found out about that, Harry was in a no-win situation.
Sure.
Like there was no right answer for Harry.
No.
Because I mean, either he noticed and he didn't tell Ron about it, which Ron's going to feel bad about, or he tells him he didn't notice like he did, and we saw what happened there.
Yeah.
Like
it's a sensitive subject for Ron. And
exactly.
Harry does his best, and he makes the best decisions he can to not, make Ron feel bad, but
yeah. Like I definitely think Harry could have done it more tactfully, come up with better answers. Like he kind of just blurted it out. It's like, oh, I didn't even notice, but and didn't think it through. It's like, oh, that's gonna hurt Ron too.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think he didn't have a lot of outs there.
Sure. I mean, other than saying, yeah, it just disappeared, and I'm still confused as to why, but now that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, kind of playing dumb, like, noticed it, but didn't want to freak out Ron because it was weird that money just disappeared.
Yeah, and I don't know. Yeah, I'm kind of on Harry's side there.
Sure.
It's like, he just didn't notice.
No.
Like, he has money, but I always feel that Harry kind of forgets that he has money.
Yeah.
Like he knows if he has it if he needs it, but he never like goes out of his way to spend it or show it off.
Well, he's not going and like emptying his vault like on a weekly basis or checking his account or anything like that. Like he doesn't need it while he's at school.
Yeah.
Really. So.
But like I've always kind of imagined he probably could have afforded to buy a firebolt on his own.
Yeah.
But he didn't go and do that. He didn't go and show off his wealth that way.
Right.
I mean, he got one because, someone bought it for him anyway. But, I don't know. Like I said, it's a sensitive subject.
Yeah.
Computers and electricity don't work at Hogwarts. I know this takes place in the 90s, but Muggleborns are going to lose their minds in a few years without their cell phones at Hogwarts.
It's true. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just going to get worse and worse for the Muggleborns who grow up with this, well, non-magical, or as far as we're concerned. I mean, my dad always says he is still amazed like how radio works.
Sure. I mean, you sit down and think about it, it's like
literally voices traveling through the air.
Yeah. For
miles and miles and miles. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Magic.
Mm-hmm.
It says, I'm really surprised that after all the crazy stuff that's happened in the last 4 years, Dumbledore hasn't set up a direct owl hotline or flu passage for Harry to reach him at any hour. Also, did you notice the method of communication Dumbledore used to summon Hagrid to the forest?
No, I don't remember.
You don't remember this one?
No, I don't remember.
Because I understand, because it was a very brief, like one sentence thing, but it is in the middle. He raised his wand into the air and pointed in the direction of Hagrid's cabin. Harry saw something silvery dart out of it and streak away through the trees like a ghostly bird.
Right. Okay. I did.
And then seconds later, Hagrid was down there.
Okay. Yes, I did. I do remember that now. And I was confused by that. And then, but there was so much going on, like all the chaos.
Yep, exactly. It was a very chaotic situation.
Yeah.
Like I said, it was just like one sentence.
Huh.
Any thoughts on that?
No. Not at this moment. Let me think on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll let you think on it.
Okay.
We can come back to it if you want.
Is this Patronus?
That would seem to be it. That's seemed to be this description we usually get. It is
silvery.
A silvery kind of like coming out of a wand, and they mention a ghostly bird, which we don't know what Dumbledore's Patronus is at this point.
Is it a phoenix?
It could be.
That would make sense for Dumbledore.
Yeah, he does have a pet phoenix.
Yeah.
But yeah, it definitely seems that he is using some sort of Patronus as a messaging system, which we haven't really seen before.
Now, I will say that I picked up on something. I don't even remember which chapter it was. Let me see if I can pull up my notes here real quick. I closed out my notes, so this is good radio.
Never close the notes until we're done. Come on.
Early on chapter 28.
Okay.
Before Hermione was getting the hate mail, there was notice of an eagle flying around the castle. Just one little line of an eagle flying around.
Was it an eagle or an eagle owl?
No, because they say eagle owl later on when they're talking about Harry being brought to the house. But early in the chapter, it's mentioned that an eagle was flying around the castle.
This was like when Harry was watching out the window, kind of thing.
Must have been.
Because
in between the house elves and Hermione getting hate mail.
Okay, yeah. So after the house elves, Ron and Hermione were kind of fighting again. Mm-hmm. So Harry wanted to be on his own, so he went up to the room, and he was looking out the window. And if I'm looking at the right spot, it actually says an eagle owl.
Oh, maybe I misheard then.
Flew through the coil of smoke rising from Hagrid's chimney.
Oh, okay. Well, that eagle owl was mentioned later on, so let's just point that out.
Sure.
Maybe that's Dumbledore.
Maybe.
Okay.
Let's see. So this is the point where Dumbledore should stop the Triwizard Tournament. A judge goes missing after mumbling about Voldemort.
Mm-hmm.
A champion attacked.
Mm-hmm.
Another judge accusing the whole thing of being fixed.
Mm-hmm.
Really, why continue the competition?
Because Ludo has money on it.
Do you think Dumbledore really cares about Ludo's money?
I don't know what Dumbledore even cares about at this point.
Okay.
He's a wild card.
Well, and then here's another comment about we see some ugly examples of the wizarding world prejudice in these chapters. Most alarming is the Minister of Magic himself showing prejudices against half-giants.
Mm-hmm.
But we also get a bit of xenophobia from Hay, who himself experienced the ugly side of prejudice just a few chapters ago. His feelings towards foreigners may be brought on by the way he was treated by Madame Maxime, but it was one of those moments where I had to shake my head at Hagrid.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess we didn't touch on the first part of that before, but right at the end of the chapter, you just kind of overhearing the conversation with Fudge and Dumbledore, and yeah, he kind of hints at Madame Maxime and what she is. So.
Right.
Ugly things coming out.
Indeed.
Next email then from Jimmy.
Hi, Jimmy.
Says, I'm a new listener from Southern California, and I just found your show about a month and a half ago. I have read all of the books one time and have seen all of the movies multiple times. You two put on a great podcast and has been enjoyable listening to Josh get hooked on the books and almost enjoy the movies.
I'm trying so hard.
I'm ready to tell you about a pretty cool experience my wife and I had on Saturday, May 13th. We went to see Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets on a big screen at the Segerstrom Center for the Arts in Costa Mesa. What made it cool was the Pacific Symphony Orchestra performed the entire musical score for the movie as we watched, and they nailed it.
Cool.
It was a fun couple of hours, and it would be a cool way to see all the movies this way. It was just the second Harry Potter film my wife has seen.
Why hasn't your wife seen the rest?
That's a good question. If you've seen them multiple times,
yeah,
get on that. Well, at least catch up to where we are, and then you can watch them along with Josh.
There we go. That's a great idea, Matt.
Perfect. But yeah, I've heard of that before. I didn't know they were doing it with Chamber of Secrets yet. Like, I've heard of that with Sorcerer's Stone, and I missed out on it. I think they actually did it down in Milwaukee a couple months back,
right,
with Sorcerer's Stone, and like I didn't hear about it until the week after or something like that. Otherwise, I definitely would have tried to get down there for that because
sure.
I've heard great things about those performances. I mean, I did a lot of music in high school. Like, band was my thing. I was a band kid, and we did everything from, standard concerts to marching band to pit orchestra for the plays and stuff. And it takes a lot of work just to make any of those kinds of shows, especially when you're interacting with actors and such, to try to line that up and get it all down smooth.
Right.
So I can't imagine trying to do that for a movie that's just playing in the background that you can't control the actors, or you're not directly interacting with the actors.
Right.
Like, they can't ad lib or wait for you to start something or catch up or skip a line, or like, you just have to be spot on for like 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yep.
But so good. Yeah. All right. Next email from Sarah.
Hi, Sarah.
Says, hello, I found a podcast 5 or 6 weeks ago. Wow. What did we do like a month and a half ago that everybody just found us, it seems like?
I don't know, Matt. I don't know.
I'm going to have to figure that out.
Yeah.
Anyway, I've been listening to the audiobook for the 2 to 3 chapters each week and then listening to the accompanying podcast episode. So after 45 episodes, I've spent a lot of hours getting to this point. I mostly listen while I'm driving, and I find myself talking back to you guys all the time. I'm either yelling at Josh when he's being ridiculous or correcting Matt when he's just plain wrong. Ooh. At least
I
I've
need to
gotten
hear
over...
more of that.
At least I've gotten over the urge to inflict bodily harm on the Muggle.
Yeah, well, I do bring out violence in people.
Yeah. I know I've thought lots of things I wanted to include when I finally emailed, but of course, now that I'm sitting down and actually writing, I can't remember most of it. I do notice that there are sometimes things you guys don't understand that are due to these books being written in England. For example, when Snape caught Harry with the Marauders map and Snape tried to get it to reveal its secrets, Snape said he was master at the school, and you guys talked about how Dumbledore was the master and not Snape. But in England, teachers, just plain old teachers, are sometimes called masters. For example, Snape is sometimes referred to as the potion master in the books, which is true. I've never really thought about that. This is also where the term headmaster comes from, and now they're also called a head teacher in many schools in England.
Okay.
I never thought of them being so interchangeable.
Sure.
I did have one question for you before I go. If people were to send in voice recordings instead of typing out an email, would you have the ability to play them into the podcast? Don't know what tools you're using for recording and editing, so I don't know how hard that would be. Just think it would be fun to actually hear some of the people that are part of the community instead of just hearing Matt read their emails.
I have two answers to that.
Okay.
One, yes, it would be very possible.
Okay.
Relatively easy. I mean, it would make editing the podcast a little bit longer, but definitely doable. I don't know if we'd want to do it on the regular show, but maybe Matt and I could talk about maybe doing a call-in show to where it's just people calling in and leaving voicemails or sending in recordings for us to respond to or listen to or whatever the case is. Like, that might be a good separate thing other than the podcast itself.
Yeah.
I like
We're always open to the possibility of new things being added or new. Yeah. We'll think about it. Definitely think about it. Yeah. Talk it over and see what we can come up with. So thanks for the idea. And thanks for catching up.
Yeah, it's about time.
All right. You put yourself in these situations. Next email from Joe.
Hi, Joe.
It says, hey, guys, hope you both had a great weekend and celebrated your mamas. This email is late as it is, so I'll jump right into my thoughts. I know in a previous email you said Booba Pus was the most disgusting thing, but I think the thought of someone being boiled in frog spawn is worse. I would agree.
That was pretty bad.
But how can people be sending Hermione hate mail? She's a 14 or 15-year-old student. And Mrs. Weasley, of all people, come on. She, at the very least, should know better.
Yeah, I'm a little disappointed in Miss Weasley.
Yep. Yeah, I never expect that to come from her. It's like I would think she would trust someone. Like, I trust someone she's met in person, someone who is friends with her son, over some lady she's never met who writes for a magazine.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know. Never actually figured that out, I guess.
Doesn't Mr. Weasley like have a problem with Rita? Also, like, hasn't he mentioned like how ridiculous she is?
Yeah, I think he's kind of put her off.
Yeah.
Wrote her off. The fact that Nifflers are in this book totally makes me smile. I was very excited. Yes, everybody likes the Nifflers. Ron complaining about being poor was a very different side of him to see. It gives his character more depth because it's a very real problem and it makes you sympathize with him.
Yeah,
I would agree. Yeah, it's a different side of Ron. but it is one we have seen before.
Yeah, definitely.
It's definitely been an issue before with Ron. But yeah, the fact that it's still an issue, definitely, it is what it is. Percy's response to Harry was exactly what I expected it to be.
Percy being Percy.
Yes, exactly. Percy being Percy. I don't believe for 1 second that Barty Crouch was the one who stunned Crumb. Obviously, something is going down, but who could have done it?
We got ourselves a classic whodunit on our hands.
We do, pretty much. Victor Crumb in the forest with, well, we don't know. How did Dumbledore know about the owls Harry's been sending? Is there a video camera in the owlery? Well, I think we've talked about electronics already.
Yeah.
That's not going to work.
No.
I wouldn't necessarily say... I do agree that Dumbledore always... He seems to be all-knowing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've mentioned this a couple times before. He whether he lets you know it or not, that's up to him.
Right.
But he always seems to know what's going on in his castle. That's for sure.
Here's the thing. We now know that house elves are everywhere in that castle. Like, do you know how easy it would be for Dumbledore just to have a house elf that's dedicated strictly to following Harry Potter around and reporting back?
That's a good point.
I mean, the possibilities are endless how Dumbledore is pulling this off.
Yeah, he definitely has ways.
Yeah. I mean, the paintings are alive, essentially, all over that castle.
Yep.
Like, he has so many ears and eyes on every inch of that place.
Also very true.
Everybody just, forgets is there.
Yep. Because they're just part of the decor.
Yeah. They're all snitches.
Says it was very weird to see Harry and Hagrid get into a bit of an argument. Never thought I'd see the day. But thankfully, I'm sure it won't last long.
Yeah. Harry's an angsty teenager. He's going to fight with everybody.
I'm sure you guys covered this already, but if not, I want to know who Josh thinks Fred and George are blackmailing, and why would they blackmail anyone? Which I think you did kind of cover.
Ludo.
Found it strange to see that Harry disagreed with Sirius, too. Harry isn't wrong, though, in the sense that Sirius is breaking and has broken his own rule about roaming around. Granted, no one was trying to kill Sirius back when he was at Hogwarts. But he's out roaming around now with people searching for him that would probably kill him if they saw him.
Yeah.
Yes and no. I mean, he's doing it in his alternate form.
Sure. He snuffles. He's not serious.
He's being careful about it, as careful as he can be, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. But yeah, I do understand he does sound a bit hypocritical, but I would agree, at least comparing Harry's situation at Hogwarts to Sirius's situation at Hogwarts are very different.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, that mini solar system in the glass dome has to be the coolest thing. I would totally get one. I do kind of wonder if they make those.
Yeah, sounds cool.
Yeah. Like, I can see it being made, even if it's just like a globe, except with the solar system instead. They could totally make one of those.
Mm-hmm.
I can only imagine Harry's displeasure while Professor Trelawney was questioning Harry about his dream or vision. Trelawney says that she has experience in these things, but Harry doesn't seem to be the type that would be too thrilled about having something in common with her.
No, Trelawney, just...
Yeah.
She cracks me up.
Oh, boy. All right. Just a couple more here from our perennial late-comers.
Sure. What's up, Mel B?
Oh, and before that, we actually have Atari Alex.
Oh, wow. All right, Alex.
Yeah. Dear Josh and Matt, well, we've finally arrived to the chapter that I and probably everyone else has been waiting for. Nifflers in all their fuzzy, adorable glory. Once again, we have some loaded chapters. The plot really thickens, and yet I suspect that 50% of this week's episode will be dominated by Niffler discussion. So I'll just
30. Like 30.
So I'll just do what I do best and talk about trivial details. I don't understand why Harry throws his watch away. Did it not occur to him to repair it magically? I know that sometimes still doesn't occur to him to use magical solutions to his problems, but come on, Hermione probably would have suggested to him at least.
I mean, he's loaded. He could just get a new one, right?
There you go. He could get a new one.
His privilege is showing.
I would argue that Hermione might not have known it was broken.
Right.
I mean, it broke in the lake, I believe.
Yeah.
And after that, like, I mean, sure, they spent time together, but it's not, like you said, he doesn't really use his watch all that much, so I don't think it's something he'd bring up. Then he says, the fact that electronics don't work at Hogwarts has always fascinated me. On the one hand, it's a great nugget of world building and explains why Harry can't Google the answers to how to breathe underwater, etc. On the other hand, it also brings up a lot of questions. How much magical energy must be present to disrupt electronics? Is it caused by a gathering of wizards or enchantments over an area or something else? Would my computer work at the Weasley's house? Would a digital watch work at Hogwarts? And so on and so forth. But who cares about that when Nifflers are around?
That's true. That's true.
But yeah, that is something you kind of wonder about a little bit if you want to get into it. I guess personally, I've thought about it as, I guess I've considered the gathering of wizards more so than the enchantments, but I suppose we do know that there are a lot of enchantments around Hogwarts.
Yeah, to keep it like hidden from the Muggle world, right?
Yep.
So I feel like that probably has a lot to do with like losing like electronic interference.
Yeah. So at Hogwarts specifically, that probably does play a part in it, I would guess. But in my mind, I think just having a large gathering of wizards around would also affect things.
Yeah, probably.
Because like I guess you kind of get the idea that, you know, magic lives in you.
Yeah.
Because that's how wizards are able to use it.
Sure.
Because it's in them. That's why some people are wizards and some people aren't. Because like we hear, like we've talked about wands before and how a wand is basically used to channel their magic.
Right.
And you can use you can actually use like any object, and some people, if they're good enough, I think can actually use no wand at all.
Mm-hmm.
But having that wand definitely helps.
Right. It's like having an antenna on your radio. Like,
yeah,
you could probably still get a signal or you know, get something from your radio, but you slap an antenna on there and all of a sudden everything's crystal clear.
Yeah. So I think that's where I get the magic is in the wizard themselves.
Right.
So just having enough wizards around would cause that magical interference as well.
Yeah.
But that's all we have from Alex this week. And now on to our headmistress, Mel B.
Hello, Mel B.
Funny story for the week. I overread and merged these two chapters together in my mind, allowing me to read a third without realizing.
Whoops.
I got really excited because the next chapter is amazing.
Ah!
I wrote my email because I'm ultra prepared these days, and then I found that I overread, and I got very sad. Matt, this is cruel and unusual to stop reading before chapter 30.
That's what I've been saying. All show. All episode.
Poor Winky. This whole thing with butterbeer has always kind of confused me. I know in Europe they're a lot more lax about alcohol than they are in Australia, but I thought in the UK they wouldn't be serving kids with anything that had alcohol in it. Is this what kids get up to at boarding school? Drinking low alcohol drinks?
It's like O'Doul's.
Yeah. I would think at boarding schools they're more likely to get into higher alcohol drinks if they can get their hands on them.
Sure, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the bartenders seem to have no problem serving them in Hogsmeade there. So
yeah, they have permission slips to be there. They're good enough.
Yeah. And let's see, racist Hagrid. I'll just leave it there since I trust you spoke about it in the show.
Yep.
If not, discuss it now.
Done and done.
Yes. Anyway, that's all this week. The headmistress is on protest due to Matt's cruelty.
All right, our first official protest of the show.
There you go. She does have one request for you, though.
Okay.
She would like you to date the Owl Post.
Oh, okay.
Because it takes a while for it to get to her in Australia.
Fair enough.
And she said she just read one that said he still liked Rita Skeeter when he wrote mine, which totally confuses me as to when it was written.
Fair enough.
So that could be useful. Yeah, I suppose our Patreon members here in the U.S. that are getting your Owl Post, they probably get it in 2-3 days.
Sure.
But yeah, if it takes a couple of weeks to get to her in Australia, I don't know exactly how long.
Now, she didn't say that she just got it. She just said that she just read it. So I'm blaming it on the fact that it's just been sitting on her counter for weeks, and she's just now got around to it.
I don't know about that.
I can start dating it. Yes, I can.
Yeah.
Yeah. Things change, like I write one thing and then the next week it's just blown up out of proportion into something else.
Yeah. She's trying to get the timeline straight in her head.
Sure. Makes sense.
She says also, if Josh wants to do a podcast on animals, I will gladly guest and tell him about all the Australian animals.
Oh, there's so many.
What people need to remember is Australian wildlife knows if you're Australian or not. These creatures only go after foreigners.
That's frightening. That's absolutely frightening. And one reason why I'm never traveling to Australia.
And I wanted to go back, but now I'm not so sure.
You could visit it from afar. You could live vicariously through Melby.
There we go.
Yeah. All right.
Well, I think that is all the emails we have for this week.
Thank you to everybody. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you to all the new writers, the first-time writers. That's always fun to hear from you guys.
Definitely had a lot of them.
And then all you old grizzled veterans of the email game. Appreciate that. So this has been a lot of fun. Before we sign off, though, we do have one more thing to do, and that's another giveaway, Matt.
That would be a good time for it.
We're going to give away something fun in celebration of this week's chapters. In celebration of the Niffler being part of the Wizarding World of Harry Potter officially, and not just in the Fantastic Beast spin-off world that is created for the movie series, we're going to give away a Niffler, Matt.
Sounds good to me.
It's
very fitting.
Funko.
It's the week of Niffler.
Week of Niffler. I mean, if I had it my way, Matt, it'd be like the year of Niffler. Let's be real here. But we'll do the week of Niffler. We gave away the Funko Pop Niffler little figurine. It's a cute little adorable thing you could put on your desk. You could put it on the dashboard of your car. You can put it by your bedstand. Just don't put it near anything shiny. That's the only recommendation I have for that.
So in your purse is probably not the best place?
No, not going to work in there. No.
Okay.
So we're going to give one of those suckers away. What we're going to do is, once again, I'm going to make you keep Matt busy checking his email. I'm going to have you write a nice little email to Matt over at talesfromgodricshollow@gmail.com. And I am going to have you tell me what candy password you would have for your study if you could have a weird and unusual candy name as a password. Now, here's the thing. I don't want to hear M&M's or Reese's or Blow Pop or Rock Candy or anything like that. I want you guys out there to be creative because you like when I challenge you to be creative. I want you to come up with something original, a new candy name that would be your password to your chambers.
All right.
A la cockroach cluster. Okay? So you could use like general candy terms like nougat or chocolate or caramel or something like that, but be creative and come up with a new candy name.
I mean, basically use JK's naming scheme in one way or another.
Exactly.
I mean, cockroach cluster, chocolate frog.
Mm-hmm. You can go as crazy as the Birdie Bots.
Every flavor beans.
Like, if you want to go all out on it, go all out. So come up with a candy name and write that in to Matt at talesfromgodricsilo@gmail.com.
All right.
Simple as that.
Sounds like a plan.
And as always, keep it separate than your normal emails that you like to write in, just so Matt doesn't absolutely lose his mind, a la Mr. Crouch, and we'll all be good. So, next week, we'll be reading chapters 30 and 31.
We will.
So, just 2 more chapters. Sorry, all you folks out there eagerly waiting to read more. But we're still on the 2-chapter schedule for one more week.
It's true.
Mel B, 30, 31. Stop after 31. Matt, where can people find you at?
You can always find me personally on Twitter at @AsAMatterOfMatt. Otherwise, as you guys have gotten very good at over the past couple of weeks, send me an email, whether it be for a giveaway or to read online or online, on air, whatever you call this thing. Technology, who knows what it is. If you want to send me email, keep it away from Josh's eyes. If you want to read or not, let me know, whatever the case may be. But you can reach me at talesfromgodricsilo@gmail.com.
See, Matt, I'll give you a pass because usually I go first and then I dish it off to you.
It's true. It's true.
And for some reason I went backwards tonight and it threw you completely off your game. So you get a pass, okay?
Thanks.
You can find me personally on Twitter at The Noise with a Y. Be sure to follow the show on Twitter at TalesFromGH. You can follow us on Instagram, Tales from Godric's Hollow, over there on Instagram. Check out the website, talesfromgodricshollow.com. You can check out the reading schedule. If you're like Mel B and you need a reminder when to stop reading, that's a good place to do it. You can also listen to all the episodes over there as well. So that's a good resource for any information that you may need. And finally, if you'd like to support us, like our wonderful headmistress, Mel B, and all the other fine patrons, you could do so on Patreon at patreon.com/Tales from Godric's Hollow. Your support allows us to do all these great giveaways and be as interactive and supportive with the community that we're building here as we possibly can. And we thank you all for that. Matt, I'll see you next week. Good luck on the house situation, my friend.
Yeah, may have a completely different situation next week, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, we're not adverse to big changes here on the podcast, so I look forward to exciting things to come. Until next time, Muggle out.
Mischief managed.